Hi friends, the topic of today is fact, value, and objectivity. Okay, so this is the topic of today. The most important from this is objectivity. I will deal with it in detail, but fact and value are not much important from examination point of view. So I will deal with it in brief, but I will tell you about the framework. That is, if a question comes somehow on fact and value, so what to be written in that case? Okay, so what you should write, I will tell you. Okay, but I will not explain that. So let's begin. First is fact. So what is fact? Anything that has its independent existence, external to our external to the mind of the observer is called fact. Okay, so anything which is independent of the mind of the observer. Okay, it is I have already explained social fact in this point. I have explained there also. Okay, that is a fact exists, it has its own existence, and it does not depend upon the likes, dislikes, the ideas, the thoughts of the person who is observing that fact. Okay, for example, suppose there is a tree and an apple has fell down. So this is a fact. Whether an observer who is watching this event, whether he likes it or whether he dislike it, okay, whether he says that the apple has not fallen down, it will not change this event. Okay, this event has happened and this is a fact. Okay, this is event has already happened and it is happening, and this is a fact, and the mind, the ideas, the motivations, the moods of this observer can never change this. Okay, so this fact is independent of the mind of the observer. Okay, so it does not depend. So this fact, the happening of this fact does not depend upon the ideas, upon the likes, upon the dislikes, etc. of this person. So if a person does not like the apple to fall down from the tree, it will not change this event which has happened, that the apple has fallen down. Okay, so second characteristic. Okay, first is it is independent, and you can write here, and which is amenable to to observation by sensory organs, which means that fact also has the characteristics that it can be observed by our sensory organs. What are our sensory organs? Our eyes, nose, okay, these things. So this event, for example, we can touch this apple. Okay, we can see it with our eyes, so this we can observe with our sensory organs. Okay, we can taste it, we can smell it. So this is a fact, and this is the definition of fact, that it has two characteristics. It happens independent of the mind of the observer, and second is that it is amenable to observation by sensory organs. Now this is the definition you will write about it, but in case a question comes, so on what things you should write in that answer. For example, say a question comes, and often the question comes that write a short note on, and they give you five things, okay, and one thing carries 10 marks. Okay, so the question number 1 and question number 5 in which are compulsory in UPSC exam, in sociology optional, question number 1 and 5 are compulsory, and they are of 50 marks. Okay, so there are 5 parts, each part carries 10 marks. So here most of the times UPSC directly asks that write short note, and here it will only mention the name, fact and value. So this is open ended, you can write anything on fact and value, because write a short note of 10 marks, you can write anything. So what you should write, keeping sociological perspective in mind? So first you will explain what is fact, and second I will tell you the framework that you will write about social facts. You can say that facts are of many kind, but sociology deals with social facts. Okay, so who are the sociologists who have talked about social facts? I have already explained Emile Durkheim, his view on social fact, and Auguste Comte's views on social fact. So you can write the views of Auguste Comte and then Durkheim, and then you can conclude that so it is sufficient. Okay, so next is value. Again, first we will define what is value. So what is value? Value is something. Value can be defined in a number of ways, but I will give you simple and short definition. Value is something which we as human beings desire or like to achieve. Okay, and we take our values as standards for judging our and others behaviors. Okay, so this is simple layman, in layman language I have explained it. Okay, you can write different and good words. You can just whatever I am teaching you, you read that from the books that I have already mentioned. Harlembus and Holborn, George Ritze. Okay, these books you can read from there, and you will get catchy paragraphs, okay, to get good marks. But my purpose here is to explain the things, so that whenever you read from the book you get the idea. Okay, and you get the idea in the minimum possible time. Okay, so here what is value? Value is something that we desire, that we like to achieve. Okay, so this is clear. Second is we take our value to judge our own behavior or the behavior of others. How? Let me give some examples. For example, in America, the social value, the most common and shared value of all people is meritocracy. That all people they merit, they value merit. That they want to get skill, they want to get talent. Okay, they want to nurture their talent, and then through the meritocracy they want to achieve success. So it is a value in America that you achieve success with the help of merit, with the help of talent. So in American society, merit is always, merit, if you have merit, then you get success, society will give you status, society will give you power. Okay, but in India we know that we had caste system, and caste system was based on birth. Okay, so here in India we often, very often, we don't value merit. Okay, though nowadays the things have changed, but prior to independence this was not the case. Merit was not valued in India, but in American society merit, talent is very much valued. If you have talent, then you will be given job, no matter to which caste, to which creed, to which religion you belong. Okay, so this is how a society values merit. That if a society values merit, then it does not matter whether whether you are a low caste, upper caste, what is your religion, what is your race. So it does not matter for that society, because if this society values only and only talent. Okay, and whosoever uses talent, then that person becomes successful, that person is given status by the society, that person receives power, privilege, etc. And when a society where merit is not valued, there you look for caste, you look for religion of that person, and etc. Okay, so it's a matter of values, that what you value, what the society value. Okay, so this can be seen from the perspective of individual. Okay, an individual's value may be different from the values of the collectivity or from the values of the society. Okay, so there are some social values which are socially accepted. Okay, you can write about that, socially accepted values, and there are some individuals value. Okay, so individuals values and socially accepted values, they can be in conflict. Okay, they can be in conflict, or they can correspond to each other. Okay, so there can be two cases: they are in conflict, or second is they correspond to each other. That individual values, individual has simply taken the values of the society, simply it has simply the individual values those things which the society values. If that happens, there is integration. If that does not happen, there is conflict in the society. Okay, so this is something that you should write. For example, first you will write about value. I have explained value. uh, Let me explain a little bit further. Okay, so I have explained that what is value, what we like to do. One thing you can write, that value is something worth striving for. Okay, so value is something which is worth for striving, which is worth for struggle. We struggle to achieve that something. Okay, so that is again value. Okay, example I have already given. Now if a question comes, like I explained that write a short note on value, what you will write. Okay, so here are some things that you will write. For first of all, you will write the definition of value that I already explained. Second, you will write about the source of values, from where we get our values. We get our values, you will write that from the institutions, social institutions. We get our values from institutions like family, schools, okay, bureaucracy, media organization, corporations, etc. And people like our role models, our leaders, etc. Okay, so we get of values from these sources. Then you can write what are the uses of values. Okay, so I already explained that the uses of value for an individual is that they are abstract standards of human or the individual behavior. An individual, he can judge other people and he can judge himself whether he is adhering or the other are adhering to the socially accepted values or not. For example, we all know that in India, taking intoxicants is not valued. Okay, in India, a person who smokes, a person who is alcoholic is looked down upon. Okay, so nobody uh, gives privilege to that person. So that person is not valued. Okay, we don't teach our children in schools about taking intoxicants. We always teach them not to take these intoxicants. So if we are taking intoxicants, we can judge that the standard behavior is what the standard behavior expected by the society is that we will not drink, we will not smoke. So even if we are smoking, we can judge that we have deviated from the socially accepted values. Similarly, if some other person is smoking, we can judge that person morally. We judge that person that that person is not following his values. Similarly, we can judge other people's from their values also. So okay, for example, say we can get to know whether a person is hypocrite or not. This is just an example. Okay, for example, if a person says that he values life, okay, he values life, and then you see that person smoking, so that person, you can judge that that person is hypocrite. Why? Because he smoking is injurious to health, and if you don't have health, how can you say that you value life? So this is just a crude example. Okay, you can write the uses. The uses is that it helps the individual, it act values act as standard, and then the individual can judge their values, judge their behavior and other people's behavior. Similarly, the other use for society is that for the society as a whole. Okay, for the society as a whole, values help in channelizing individuals behavior towards social goals. Okay, so what is the use of values for society? Society can through socialization, through these institutions, it can imbibe the, or it can indoctrinate the minds of the individual with those values which are required for the individual to achieve the goals of the society. Say society has set certain goals, and in order to achieve those goals, certain kind of behavior is needed. Then the society will socialize the people, the persons of the society in such a way that they do those behavior which will lead to the achievement of those goals. Okay, so this is another use. Okay, so this is useful uses of social values. Now you can write about the ideas of Talcott Parsons. Okay, what are those ideas? When I will teach Talcott Parson, I will tell you, but here I will just mention so that you can just note down, and when I will teach Talcott Parson, you will understand, and whenever the question comes, you just note down the framework that what you have to write, because question can come open-ended. Definition, source, uses, Talcott Parsons ideas. Talcott Parsons ideas about socialization. He says that, Talcott Parsons is a functionalist. So what a functionalist is, that he says a functionalist is someone who says that society is functioning, there is order in the society, there is stability in the society, and there is no conflict. Okay, so functionalist in general this says that there is no conflict. I have already uh, taught that in my topic sociological perspective. Okay, so I expect you that you know that, I expect from you that you will be knowing this, that there will be no conflict according to functionalist. So as I already mentioned, that there are two kind of values. One is the value, things valued by individual, and there are certain social values. Okay, so according to functionalist, these two will correspond to each other. Okay, so there will be no conflict among these two values, that is the value and the things which are valued by individuals and the things which are valued by society, they will be one and the same according to Talcott Parsons. So how that will be possible, that individuals are valuing individuals have the same value as the values of the society? This will be possible according to Talcott Parsons through socialization. That is, whenever a child is born, then that child is made a social being by the society through the process of socialization. So socialization is a process through which an individual is given social values so that he becomes a social being. Social being acting in a socially acceptable manner and achieving or trying to achieve socially acceptable goals. Okay, so socialization is a process. This is just crude definition, you can memorize the exact definition from the book. But what is socialization? It is a process through which the society, through its various institutions like family, media, etc., gives its values to a newly born child, so that that child becomes a social being, that child act in a manner that is socially acceptable. Okay, for example, we teach our children that they should value time. Okay, time is money. We teach our children that they should not waste time. Okay, so this is because we want our Indians people to, we want our children that one day they value time and the society grows so economically. Okay, so this is just one example. We teach our children to respect women. Okay, why? Because all the social values are that we respect women. Women have been exploited so far, and now the society has changed, and the goals of the society has changed. So we through our families we teach, we as a society teach our children that they should respect women, though this is not the case on the ground, but in books we actually do this. Okay, so this is socialization. A Talcott person talks about the fact that there is no conflict between individuals and social values because society is giving the values to the individual. Okay, and individual is imbibing those values. He says that there are two kind of socialization. This is important. One is primary socialization, and second is secondary socialization. These things I will teach you when I will teach Talcott Parsons, but here am just mentioning. So if you are not understanding these things, what is socialization, what is, so there is no need to worry because I will be teaching these in future. Okay, so One is primary socialization, secondary. Okay, primary socialization is when a child, newly born child, is socialized, and secondary socialization is when an adult is again given values by the society. Okay, so this is the primary and secondary socialization. Another quote you can mention here is that Talcott Parsons says that family is very important in this process of socialization. Though socialization can happen through media, uh, schools, etc., peer groups, but family is important. He says that family is the factory. Family is like factory which produces personalities. Okay, so family is a factory which produces personality. That our personalities, our existence as a human being, that what our personality will be, what our attitude will be, what our behavior will be. Okay, what our values will be. These all things are they are components of our personality, and our personality and these things depend upon our family, because we are dependent on our family. Family teaches us everything. So this is Talcott Parsons says that family is an institution of society, so society through it will teach us these things. So since the society itself is teaching these things, there will be no conflict. Okay, so again from this, that there is no conflict, a question comes that a conclusion can you can conclude that there is value consensus, and Talcott Parsons itself uses this term that there is value consensus in the societies. Okay, so in society there is value consensus. Value consensus means shared values. Okay, that all the people in the in a society, they have certain values which are shared by everyone. Okay, so for example, he gave this example of America, where meritocracy, that I already explained, is valued. Okay, he says that this is a shared value. Every member of the country America shares this value, so there is consensus. Okay, there is consensus that, so when there is consensus, then everyone will try to achieve success through merit. Okay, so this is the shared value. There will be no conflict. When conflict will arise, when a person tries to use his religion, caste, etc., to achieve success, or when he uses wrong means to achieve success, then there is a conflict, there is crime, there is contradiction. But Talcott Parsons says that there everyone will go for merit, because merit is the shared value. Like that there are other values, and Talcott Parsons is a functionalist. He said that there is value consensus in the society. So you can write about uh, what is a framework, first definition, then source, then uses, then you can write about Talcott Parsons views. What are the views? First is socialization, and second you can write about value consensus. Okay, so other things you can write about that I will explain in objectivity topic, and that is value neutrality. This you just write, I will explain in the very next part, that is objectivity, value neutrality, value relevance. Okay, so these you think you can write, I will explain these two in today's video itself. Now coming to the most important topic, that is objectivity. This is the most important topic of today, that is what is objectivity, and we will deal with it in detail. So what is objectivity? There is a sociologist, Bierstein. He says that I would recommend that, you to read his definition of objectivity and memorize that definition from the book Haralambos and Hallborn. Okay, so from this book you can read the definition. So he gave the definition. The crux of the definition is that objectivity is a condition where the results of a research must not be influenced by the values, ideas, ideology, caste, sex, creed, at prejudices, stereotypes, etc. of the individual. Okay, so this is what is objectivity. Objectivity is a condition wherein which the results of the research, that when a sociologist or when a researcher does research, then the outcomes of the research, the results of the research, they must not be influenced by the values, ideas, ideology, caste, sex, creed, etc. of the individual. Okay, so it means that an objective research is one which is free of the mind of the individual, where the individual or the researcher himself does not influences his results with his values. For example, if you are a woman and you are doing a research, then that outcome of the research should not be influenced by your gender, whether you are a woman, whether you are a male. Okay, so if you there is a topic, and that you topic on the if there is a research on the topic, say say homosexuality or LGBTQ rights or families, and you are doing a research, then your gender, whether you are a woman, whether you are a man, whether you are a transgender, so your gender should not influence the um, outcomes of your research. That is, if you are a woman, you should not try to support the fact which is more relative, which is more supportive of women. Okay, if you are a man, you should not deliberately go against women and go in support of men. You should side with the fact. Okay, you should not let your gender influence your research. Okay, so if you are, say, woman or a man, you don't go against the rights of transgender deliberately. Okay, so but this does not happen in reality. Most of the times our religion, our caste, our gender influences our research. For example, if there is a Muslim, he will always support in his research, he will try to support Muslim. Okay, if there is a Hindu, he will try to support Hinduism at some topic which is relevant for his position, for his religion. Say if there is a woman, she will always talk about women reservation, that the reservation should be given. She will always talk that women are being exploited. Most of the time this happens, there are certain exceptions, so objectivity in reality is not maintained. Okay, so what is objectivity? That these things should not happen. Okay, so these things should not. If you are a American or if you are a foreigner and you are doing research on Indian society, like most of the Orientalist society, Orientalist that we will study when we study paper 2, so they did research in on Indian society, and they portrayed India in a dark light. Okay, so they said that India is a closed system. Okay, what is this? I will explain later on in later videos. Closed system. In India they talked about caste, their dysfunctions, etc. So they were influenced by their ethnicity. This is called ethnocentrism. Where you think that your ethnicity, your culture is the best and all other cultures are poor in front of your culture. You are influenced by your culture, and due to this your research is contaminated with your ideas, with your ethnicity. Okay, so they portrayed India in bad light. Similarly, the Indian sociologists like Gure, okay, Srinivas, etc., they portrayed India in the positive light. So an objective research should be such that it does not matter whether you are an Indian or an foreigner. What is the fact? Give us the fact in your research. Okay, so don't just support a country. Similarly, if you belong to a political party, say there is a ruling political party and you belong to that political party, you support that political party personally, then your personal political affiliation should not influence your research. Say I am a sociologist and I am there is a political party ABC in India and it is ruling at present time, say, and I give vote to this political party. Say this political party has a scheme called Pradhan Mantri Manrega. Okay, take any scheme and I have to do a sociological research on this. Then my sociological research, in my sociological research, whatever the facts comes, whatever the results, outcomes of my study come, I should show them. Okay, I should disclose them and I should not tilt them in favor of my political party. I should not deliberately show that this scheme is working well. If it is not working well, I must tell that this is not working well. So this is objectivity. Okay, so I think that you will have understood that what is objectivity. Objectivity means your idea, your value, your religion that should not influence the outcomes of your research. So this is objectivity. This is the definition of objectivity. Now let us come to the views, which is the most important. Now there are three kind of people in sociology. Number one are positivists. Okay, so what positivists say? They say that objectivity is desirable, that is, it is desired. A sociologist must remain objective. His research must be objective. And second is they say that objectivity is achievable. And these are the 2 points which positivists say, that objectivity is desirable and objectivity is achievable. They say that yes, objectivity is desired and yes, it is even achievable in sociological research. Who are these people? Positivists like Emile Durkheim, like Comte, etc. Okay, these people say that yes, objectivity can be maintained. How this is possible? This is possible with the help of scientific method. Okay, that I already explained. In scientific method, we go for quantitative techniques, and they say that these quantitative techniques have greater validity and they have greater reliability, and they say that we will go for repetition, that we will again and again repeat the same study, and this study will be repeated by different sociologists. So if same topic is studied by different sociologists and they are bringing the same result, it means that the objectivity is guaranteed. Similarly, they go for different sampling method like random sampling. They use computer software for these things. Computer software, where most of the decisions are taken by computer softwares randomly, and the decisions do not are not taken by the sociologist himself. So they say that due to these techniques, objectivity is achievable. They said objectivity is desirable and objectivity is achievable. This is the views of positivist. Okay, and I already explained one of the premise of positivism that you can also write, you should also write here, which is objective reality exists. Okay, and we have to study it objectively. So they talk about objective understanding of objective reality. Okay, so this is what positivists have to say. For example, Imail Durkheim says that we will do experiments like science does in lab. We will do experiments. We will go for control groups and all that. We will go for multivariate. This term you should write in exam. Multivariate analysis. Okay, so these things you can write under positivist. Okay, so next is there are certain people or sociologists who says that objectivity in sociology is desirable. Okay, all things I have been writing here are in relation to sociology, objectivity in sociology. Okay, so you take this as such. So objectivity is desirable, but objectivity is not achievable. So there are certain people who say that yes, objectivity is desirable. Yes, we know that research should be objective. Otherwise, there is no fun in doing research if it is not objective. But objectivity is not achievable. Who are these people? For example, first is you can write about Weber, Max Weber, or you can say interpretivist. They say that the very choice of topic of research is influenced by our values. The very choice of topic. So what topic you are going to study, you choose that topic, and that choice of yours is influenced by your values or your context or your religion, etc. For example, I like phenomenology, and I will use that approach. Okay, so if someone is interpretivist, he will use that approach and he will study those topics which are relevant to this approach. A phenomenologist will study how the social reality is constructed. A woman is more likely to choose a topic related to women. Okay, so in Indian, if I am an Indian, then 99% chances are that I will take a topic that is related to India. Okay, so our very choice, if we are choosing a topic for study, no matter what topic we choose, it will always be influenced by some of our values or our ideas or our ideologies, etc. Every time it will be influenced. This choice can never be free of our mind. This choice will always depend upon our mind. Okay, So Weber says that the choice of topic itself will be influenced over values, so it is very difficult to maintain complete objectivity. But he says, but he says that we should try to remain value neutral, or we should try to remain value free. Well, we should try to remain value neutral. Value freedom, complete value freedom is not possible because the choice of topic itself will be dependent on our values. So we should remain value neutral. What do you mean by value neutral? That we should not morally judge people. Okay, we should not say that someone's value or culture, we should not degrade someone values or culture. Okay, we should not degrade someone's values, cultures, etc. Okay, so we should remain value neutral. How this is possible? He again says that we should keep our personal values or personal life separate from our professional life. So Weber says that we should not degrade someone else's culture, someone else's values. We should not. We should separate our personal values from our professional life. Our personal value. We should try to achieve this. Okay, that we should try to remain value neutral. We should not judge people. We should not say that this value is good, this value is bad. We are no one to judge. Okay, so this is what Weber has to say. Okay, he says that it is desirable but it is not achievable. Next you can write about Alvin Goldner. Gouldner. Okay, Gouldner. So he also comes in the same category. First here is Weber, second here is Alvin Goldner. He says that a researcher has to assume some domain assumptions. Have to, or you can say must. He must assume some domains assumption before doing research. What does this mean? This means that Alvin Goldner says that a researcher, whenever he will go for research, he always have to take certain assumptions in sociology, and when he will assume something, this assumption will be based on his values or it will be influenced by his mind, so his research will not be objective. Okay, what are these examples? Example, whether human being is rational or irrational. Okay, so certain people says human man is rational, some says irrational. So before doing research, he assumes, a researcher will always assume in his mind whether man is rational or irrational, and his whole research will be influenced by this. He may not even think about this, but this will be, this will come in his mind automatically. This is an automatic assumption. Similarly, what is the relation between agent and agency? Whether it is the agency or the society influencing, you can take society, and here you can take individual if you are confused. Whether the society is influencing the individual or the individual influences the society, so he will always be assuming this. Similarly, he will assume whether the society is stable or unstable. In other words, you can write here, whether there are conflict in the society or whether the society is functioning properly, that is whether the society is functional. So these are the examples of certain domain assumptions which a sociologist will always have to assume while before doing a research. So since he will always, these assumption will always depend upon his ideology, upon his values, whether he is on this side or on this side. He will have to take one side, and so the perfect objectivity will not be maintained, it will be compromised. Similarly, the third person in this category is Gunnar Myrdal. He is a Swedish. This person will come again and again in sociology. So I would like to tell a little bit about him, that he is a Swedish sociologist. He has written books like Asian Drama, okay, and American Dilemma. Here it is: drama, Asian drama, American dilemma, and he has written book on problems of objectivity. He has written book, not problem, objectivity in social science. Simply the name is objectivity in social sciences. Okay, so he has written these books. So in this book, objectivity in social sciences, he says that it is not achievable. Objectivity cannot be achieved. Objectivity can't be achieved in social sciences, and sociology is a social sciences. And while writing about Gunnar Myrdal, you also write the example that in his book he talks about the example that the classification of countries. For example, he gave an example in his book that the classification of countries into first first world, second world, and third world. Okay, we have classified the countries into first, second, and third world is subjective. He says that this is not objective. This is a good example. This is subjective because the people of the first world, the developed world, they say that this is developed, this is middle developed, and this is least developed. Okay, so he says that this is not objective, this is subjective. It varies from person to person. Some person may think in this way, some people may think that third world, even third world countries are better developed nowadays. Okay, so Gunnar Myrdal says that this objectivity in social sciences cannot be achieved. At most what you can do is that the researcher, he says that a researcher must disclose his ideas, values, background, etc., which might have influenced his public or research. Okay, so he says that the researcher, when he does a research, at the end of the research, he should disclose that these are my values, these are my ideas, this is my religion. He should give his information about his background so that the people or the readers, they get to know that whether they are, so that the readers get to judge whether his research is objective or not, whether certain factor might have influenced or not. So this, in this way, the researcher can improve the purpose of the research. Okay, this is the third one, Gunnar Myrdal. Okay, so now the next is, the third is, there are certain people who say that objectivity is neither desirable nor achievable. Okay, so there are certain people who say that no, objectivity in research is not even desired. It is not even desirable. Okay, so here we have people we call conflict theorist. Okay, like Marxists, feminists, queer sociologists, etc. This is that is they talk about value relevance. Okay, like Weber talked about value neutrality, positivists talk about value freedom, so they talk about value relevance. They say that whatever the values of the people are, they are very much relevant. Values are relevant. We should always consider the values of people we are studying. Okay, the people we are studying, that is our subjects values matter, and the values of researcher also matters. Okay, so they say that a researcher or a sociologist is an agent of change. A sociologist is like a bureaucrat. If he is an agent of change, he should be armed with his values, because if he will not be influenced by with values, if he will not be empathetic, if he will not be empathetic towards downtrodden people, toward the vulnerable people, then how he will influence the lives of those people, how he will change the lives of those people. He should and he must always in his research try to prove that the downtrodden are being exploited, and this happened with them and this happened with them. He should feel empathetic toward that person. He should not remain neutral. He should be armed with values. He should be have a heart. He should be compassionate and these things. So he said that yes, values are relevant. If a researcher will become like a machine, then he will be of no use. Okay, so the researcher, the most important top cause of doing research is improvement in the society, improvement in the lives of the downtrodden people. So he must take a side. This is what the conflict theorists have to see. Now here I will once again mention that when I talk about this interpretivist, you also write about the premise of interpretivism, that subjective understanding. What is this? I have already explained in my previous video on positivism and interpretivism. You can watch that video. Subjective understanding of objective reality. Okay, so this is that. Now there are certain common problems. Okay, now there are certain common problems or examples you can mention in your answer. Okay, these are not views, these are certain examples you can mention in your answer. Okay, for example, you can write that, as I already mentioned, that Bierstedt, you can write about his definition from higher numbers. In his definition, he always assumes, he write his in his definition that his research should not be influenced by his ideology. To here he has assumed that the researcher will be a man, so he is a male. The very definition he gives, the very definition of objectivity, the very definition of objectivity he gives is influenced by the gender. Okay, so in this example you can mention, if you write this in the conclusion, you can say that yes, the very definition of objectivity itself was influenced by the gender, so it is almost impossible. You can write it in exam in conclusion that it is impossible to maintain objectivity in sociology. Positivist, there are not much subscribers of positivism nowadays. Okay, so you can write that. Similarly, you can mention the research of Gure. Okay, Gure, Dumont. Who are these people? If you have read paper 2, you will know. Otherwise, you will not know. These will come in paper 2. Okay, you just mention here. You just take note. Gure, Dumont, etc. They were suffering from ethnocentrism. That their research, they were suffering from ethnocentrism. Gure talked positive about India. Dumont talked negative about India. Okay, he had a negative view of India. He had a positive view of India. So they were suffering from ethnocentrism. The very positivists themselves have not remained objective. Have not remained objective. This is the third point. First point is this. Second is this example. Third point you can also write somewhere in your answer that the positivists themselves have not remained objective in their studies. Example you can write Durkheim. We know that he studied suicide. Do you know why he studied suicide? He studied suicide, and he himself writes that he studied suicide because data was available on suicide. So first, his study of suicide was influenced whether there is data or not. So it was not objective. Second, he studied suicide because he wanted to prove that sociology is different from psychology. Okay, so he wanted to prove that the subject matter of sociology is different from psychology. That's why he chose a topic of suicide, which was erstwhile prior to him it was studied by psychology, and he studied it in a different manner so as to prove that it is different from psychology. So his study of suicide, the choice of topic of suicide was influenced by his values, by his stereotype, by his anger towards psychology, etc. Similarly, Emile Durkheim, he talked about professional associations. Professional associations. So these we will study in when we will study Emile Durkheim. Here you can just mention professional association because he disliked inherited property. Okay, so these are some of the examples. Similarly, you can write that most of the researches that happens that happen nowadays are sponsored, oblique funded by one or other organization. Nowadays, the sociological studies they happen on such a large scale that they have to be funded by certain organizations or some persons or some influential persons or certain parties, etc. Okay, so when you are being funded, when a sociologist is being funded by some organization, then it interferes, it compromises the objectivity. Okay, and this compromises the objectivity. How? Because researchers develop a tendency to convert hard facts that may go against the very sponsor the sponsor himself into soft facts. Okay, so what researchers they do, since they are being funded, so they know that if their outcomes, if the result of their research will go against the funding organization, will go against the sponsor will stop fund. Okay, so sponsor will stop fund for that organization, and if the fund will stop for that sociologist, he will not be able to do his career, will be his career will end. So what he does, he most of the times he comes out with a favorable sociological research, and even if there are sometimes he comes with a research that is opposed to such organization, he convert the hard facts, the very rash facts, into soft facts. He will criticize in a way that it will look as a constructive criticism, even though real criticism may be desired. Okay, so this is another thing that you can write in this topic. Next that I will mention some things that you have already read, that I have already taught. If time permits, if demands of the question permits, then you can write that. You can write about phenomenologists and postmodernists, and you can write about objectivity in a sense that this is that uh, there is no objective reality. Okay, the phenomenology, there is no objective reality, and every reality is socially constructed. Okay, that I have already explained. I think I have explained phenomenology, and if I have not explained, I will explain it in later videos, but you can just take the note that there is no objective reality and every reality is socially constructed. And so a sociological research can never be objective. Okay, so this is the end of topic. I have explained this topic in detail. Okay, so you can write about this topic. And one thing I have to teach you is solutions. So how to we all know that nowadays positivism has not much subscribers, and in the end, in the conclusion, you can write that objectivity is desirable. In the conclusion, you go with this stand that objectivity is desirable but very difficult, or almost, as you can write, almost impossible to achieve. Okay, so you can write in the end that yes, it is desirable but it is almost impossible to achieve. Now what are the solutions, how we can achieve that? In the solutions you can write about computer softwares and that things. So I have explained to you in detail about what is objectivity, and I have given much information. You will not get time in exam to write each and everything, so you can choose, and according to the demand of the question, what they have asked in question, you can pick and choose, and then you can write that information. You don't have to write each and every sociologist and everything mentioned here. I have explained it in detail because according to the sometimes according to the demand of the question, you can create an answer. So this is whole, this is complete. Okay, So this is the end of the today's topic. If you have certain doubts, if you have certain suggestion, you can mention that in comment. Thank you.